Buenas noches, profesor. Buenas noches, estudiantes. En la
Buenas
noche de
noches.
hoy, en la noche de hoy damos inicio a nuestra sesión número 3 de literatura infantil con el profesor Santos Monroy. Profesor, paso a compartir los parámetros de la sesión.
Vale, está bien.
Estudiantes, estos son los parámetros de las sesiones por videoconferencia. Las sesiones se graban, o sea que podemos verlas nuevamente en la plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien su micrófono y puedan activarlos cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con el permiso del docente. Le pedimos que mantengan su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar sus excusas por el chat de Zoom. O de lo contrario, serán retirados de la sesión y les serán restados puntos de la valoración del docente. Pero él como moderador es facilitaria, pero en la parte técnica, las consultas las hacemos en el chat personal o general. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo estas sesiones. Listo, profesor.
Vale, gracias. Okay, let's start with session number 3. The session number 3 is about funny poems for kids. Remember that in the previous sessions, the first one we talk about in session number 1, we talk about general aspect about children's literature. Session number 2 was about fables. With session number 2, we finish the first module. And on this module, you have a forum and some activities that you have to do on the platform. Then we're going to start with module number 2, funny poems for kids. Let's see and analyze what this chapter is about. In all of the chapter, we're going to see examples of. In this one, we're going to see example of funny poems for kids. The idea of this is to analyze them, to identify what's the purpose, when to use them, with what ages those poems can be used. Especially remember that children's literature is designed for kids and young people. So let's see the first one. The biggest verb ever. The record so far for the world's biggest verb, it's held by Melinda McNorp. It wasn't on purpose. She wasn't to blame. Her tummy just rumbled and out the verb came. Belinda then instantly saw her mistake. The ground began trembling and starting to shake. That rumble was suddenly more of a roar. It busted the windows and knocked down the door. The funny poems for kids include, if you see, we have a simulation in word sounds. They rhyme at the end. So when children learn that, they also are practice pronunciation. They can practice vocabulary, and they do it in a funny way. Another advantage of using that is that children can develop a better communication because they practice fluently. They are fluently because they are practicing fluency. So that's another advantage of using funny poem for kids. So the idea is that kids can be practicing reading and reading until they can read it fluently. The idea about funny poems is if the kids have to read it, they have to practice. So the idea is they will be able to read it fluently, and it's helped to be more fluent when they speak in English. When I took those examples, I took them from the platform. So this is just a summary of some of them. But if you go to the platform, you can find more and more examples there. So let's see. I'm gonna get a, an explanation about one of the word here so we can get a better understanding of it. Okay, the record in this one, it talk about the verb. Verb means, for example, when you drink soda and you do this noise, this is a verb. So if you see it by this perspective, it's very fun, especially for kids. So the definition from verb is noisily release air from the stomach through the mouth, belch. So when you talk about the biggest burp ever, it's gonna sound like, oh, this is so fun. And it's get kids and children attraction to that. So let's continue. It says, her mother and father both covered their ears. Her brother and sister were nearly in tears. Her puppy looked panicked and jibbed as he fled. Her kitten just crawled and covered his head. The cars on the street began skidding and stopping. The choppers in shop started dropping their chopping. The squirrel all borrowed. The birds flew away. The sun disappeared for the rest of the day. If you see, this point keep the sequence in sounds. For example, in the first paragraph, all the sounds such as looked, panicked, jeeps, fled, covered, covered, head. This is um, this is a good reference, especially when practice pronunciation. So even on the internet, you can get more examples of, you can look for, I will give you an example. You are practicing the simple past, ED pronunciation of verbs, of regular verbs, and you want to practice with your students, you can get on Google, okay, funny poems to practice simple past regular verbs, or funny points to practice long is sound, short is sounds, and you will find many examples that can be used not only in literature classes, but also to practice pronunciation. That is a good source. And also, if you explain them the idea, the meaning of these poems, your students will get it funny. Even in school at the United States, they use a lot of that to make students be more fluently when they speak and when they read. So let's analyze the second paragraph. The choppers in shop started dropping their shopping. The squirrels all burrowed. The birds flew away. The sun disappeared for the rest of that day. Okay. As clouds began thundering all around town, the trees toppled over, the buildings fell down. Tornadoes and hurricanes blew through the sky. The rivers flowed backward. The ocean ran dry. Volcanoes erupted from Perth to Peru. The Grand Canyon widened. Mount Everest grew. The earth started spinning a different direction, and words of all, I lost my iPhone connection. Once again, if you notice, the idea is okay, they are so funny because the idea transmitted is provoke that. It's a funny environment. But also, we need to get words that rhyme at the end. In the first one, we have, as clouds began thundering all around town, the trees toppled over. The building fell down, and we have town down. Tornadoes and hurricanes blew through the sky. The rivers flowed backward. The ocean ran dry. So we have sky and dry. A good activity that we can do with our student is, okay, you give them the written of the funny poems. So they can circle in colors. For example, you can say circle in color blue words that sound the same. Okay, and they started in colors, and so they can have three colors: uh, blue, yellow, and green. And they start. Okay, let's color in blue words that sounds like town, and they start, okay, town, and they color in blue town. Now let's color in green the words like sounds sky, similar to sky. Okay, and they color in green the word dry. These also words for little kids to practice pronunciation. The same happen. Let's start similarities in pronunciation in this paragraph. And you start, volcanoes erupted from Perth to Peru. So now let's look for Peru sounds, word that rhyme with Peru. And you start reading, the Grand Canyon widened, Mount Everest grew. And you say, probably grew, Peru grew. They both end in the same sound, oo. Then we have the earth started spinning at a different direction. Okay, now let's see. Look for a word that have the same sound like direction. And they say, and you start reading again. And words of all, I lost my iPhone connection. And we have direction and connection. So we can do many activities using these funny poems. It helps the students to improve their fluently their fluence in English. You can also practice vocabulary to improve vocabulary and to practice pronunciation. Finally, we have Belinda was pretty embarrassed, all right, but she was well mannered and very polite. And that's why she knew it would all be okay when she said, "Excuse me," and went on her way. Another recommendation I have for you is when reading, it's important that your students have the written information so they can follow you when reading. What's the purpose of that? It makes your students to improve their pronunciation because they can follow and they can read and listen how each of the word is pronounced. So every time you read something to them, please make them to have the information that is being read, and also get them to follow you through the reading. So read, make the pauses and try to read very clearly and carefully. And be sure that each one is paying attention on the reading and follow the reading. Once again, we can get vocabulary and also we can practice from the paragraph. We can take words and make sentences with or give example with those words so they can understand the vocabulary. I will give you an example. If I take the word embarrassed, but what is embarrassed? And you explain them, give an example. Okay, embarrassed, probably when you are apologized, when you are ashamed. For example, you are eating or you are having lunch and you probably uh, left something on the floor and you felt embarrassed of this situation. You are at the mall and you confuse someone and you greet that person thinking that it was somebody else. So you feel embarrassed because I confused someone with somebody else. And besides, I also greet that person. So I feel embarrassed. And that's the way you give more examples. So we can take also the word polite and we can say, what is polite? Okay, polite is when you ask permission, when you greet someone, when you use words such as, can I use your computer? Thank you. May I go to the bathroom? So that is a very polite person. The idea is with the same source, try to do different things. Practice vocabulary, pronunciation, reading, listening. You can also ask questions about that. But in this one, try to make emphasis on sounds. The what words rhymes with. In this one, you say, okay, let's get together the words that are read almost the same, or have sounds in commons with the word, for example, embarrassed, and you ask them, and they say, okay, embarrassed, probably mannered, and things like that. Okay, with way. Okay, I have this question. What is the use of the biggest board ever? I already mentioned many uses with examples, but let's take some time to analyze it, to list the use of, and how can we apply those examples in classes. Okay, I will give you some ideas. So what is the use of the biggest word ever? We can use it to practice vocabulary, to practice pronunciation, to improve reading, to get our students reading fluently, to make them having fun while they are learning. Okay, let's continue with Xbox, Xbox. Xbox, you're the one for me. I also love my 3Ds and my Nintendo Wii. GameCube, Game Boy, Apple, iPod, Touch. I never thought that I would ever be in love this much. Pac-Man, Sonic, Mario, and Link, your names are etched inside my mind in everlasting ink. Run, jump, flip, hand, double jump, and climb. That's all I want to do with every second of my time. Once again, we can use them as I wrote before to practice vocabulary, to practice fluence when our students are reading. We can have them to memorize this Xbox so they can we can also have context. The one who say it faster is the winner. So there are many strategies and techniques that we can use with the Xbox. There are many Xbox out there, so you can get them and use them in class. Let's see this one. My mother said to do my chores. Chores is all the activities that we do at home, like clean the kitchen, clean the bathroom, make the bed, do the dishes. Those are examples of chores. So my mother said to do my chores, to dust the shelves and mop the floors and wipe the walls and wind the clocks and scoop the kitty's litter box and walk the dog and feed the fishes and wash and dry the dirty dishes and clean my room and take a bath and read a book and do my math and pick up all my Lego blocks and put away my shoes and socks and hang my shirts and fold my pants and water all the pot plants and organize my toys and games and straighten up the picture frames and polish all of the silverware and brush my teeth and comb my hair and rake the leaves and mow the lawn and on and on and on and on. What we can do here, this is a good example to practice chores at home. So first of all, we teach them the vocabulary so when they have this, it's going to be easily for them. So when we use my mother said to do my chores, we start first. Okay, let's practice the vocabulary. These are activities that we do at home. And you mentioned the activities. You say, dots the shelf, mop the floors, wipe the walls, wind the clock, wind the clocks, scoop the kitty's litter box, walk the dog, feed the fishes, and so on. An observation for the word win. Sometimes we say win or wine. Win or wine depends on the part of a speech. If I talk about win, uh, wine as a verb, it sounds wind. But If I talk about a noun, I say wind. Okay. For example, today is a windy day. It's windy. But I say the days, the breath winds. It's a verb. So with this, we can practice chores activities or things that we do that we have to do at home. Let's see this one. She said I'll get to have some fun as soon as all my chores are done, with all the chores I have to do until my mother says I'm through, like study for an hour or two and peel potatoes and stir the stew and fix a vase with crazy glue and practice tuba till I'm blue and wash the dog with pet shampoo and sweep the chimney and the flue and scrub the tube and toilet too and pick up piles of puppy poo. It looks like I'll be 93 before I get to watch TV. It's very funny the last one because I have too many things to do, too many chores that probably when I end it up I will be 93 because mother said that I have to finish everything. Then I have permission for watching television. We can also ask our students, how long do you think it takes to do all these activities? You can also ask them question about it. So they can participate, they can express their ideas and comments. Okay, let's say this one. The worm that wouldn't wiggle, the worm that wouldn't wiggle by Steve Atwell from his book. That's twice I've lot my socks off. Okay, here I have recommendations about Xbox. You can find them on YouTube, on the internet, and you can play them to kids. Believe me, they will love because they are very funny and they will enjoy it. Another recommendation I have is this one, the fish that couldn't climb trees. And another recommendation is Desmond the Christmas Fairy. All of them are not on the platform, are recommendation that you can um, get for your kids. The first one, remember, the worm that wouldn't wiggle, the fish that couldn't climb trees, and Desmond the Christmas Fairy. You can get it from YouTube and you can use them to practice with your students. So now I have, what do you think about funny poems for kids? Let's take some minutes, then I will give my analysis and my opinion to answer this question. Okay, my opinion about this question is that they are interesting because they are very funny. Kids would love those poems, and the most important is that they, for sure, they would like to um, learn by memory all of them. Especially, my recommendation is if you have short Xbox for them, as the ones that I mentioned, try to do it with videos. So if they see the video and they can listen and read, is the best because the videos are very funny when they explain the Xbox. Once again, remember to work on the activities that you have on the platform. So remember that we can communicate through the forum. And that's all for this session. I see you next Monday.
Listo, profesor. Si no tenemos más consultas o aportes, damos como finalizada la sesión de la noche de hoy. Tengan
Gracias,
todos
hasta
una
luego.
noche. Hasta luego.